So, welcome everyone to the fourth lesson of International Feldenkrais Week, brought to you by Feldenkrais Resources for Musicians. We're at our halfway point now. There will be four more lessons until this coming Tuesday. I'm Lars. I'm a classical singer and based in Greenwich, Southeast London. Um, just a few housekeeping things. The lesson will be recorded, so if you'd prefer not to be visible on the recording, feel free to turn your camera off. As I mentioned before, it'll be a standing lesson, mostly on one leg, but we'll go to both legs. Um, so you'll need a little bit of space on either side of you, and if you'd like, space on the floor to lie down for a rest. Speaking of rest, remember that you can rest at any time you like. Maybe more importantly, so in standing lessons. So do take care of yourselves and rest when you need to. And for those of you who are keeping their camera on, please make sure I can see you from head to toe. That would be really useful. Or not. It's fine either way. Um, great. Then let's start. So find a space somewhere in your room where you'd like to stand and sense how you're standing. So for some of you, this might be the first time that you're just standing for a longer period of time today. Um, if you're like me, who spent the morning on Zoom in an assembly, then it'll be the first time that you're standing. Otherwise, maybe you've already done lots of standing. So just sense how you're standing, how you're making contact with the floor through the soles of your feet. And since the theme of this year's International Feldenkrais Week is balance, how are you balancing on your 2 feet? Where is your weight? Do you favor one foot over the other by giving it a bit more of your weight right now? And do you feel more pressure under the front of your feet or under your heels? And is that different from side to side? And without doing it first, if you were to shift your weight more to one side right now, so onto one foot, which side do you think it would be easier to shift the weight to? And how would you know? And then try it out. Shift your weight to the side you chose so it comes a little bit more over your foot and then back to center. And repeat this a few times, going to the same side and back to the center. How far do you have to go to feel like you've actually shifted your weight? When do you know that you have shifted your weight onto that foot? And then try it on the other side. And notice, first of all, if it feels different to shift your weight over to this foot. Do you have to go further until you're satisfied that you've shifted your weight, or how do you distinguish shifting your weight to this side as opposed to the first side? And then shift your weight onto the easier foot, whichever that is for you. Stay there with the weight on that foot and lift the other foot a little bit off the floor. And then you can keep it in the air for a little moment and then put it back down again and maybe try that another once or twice. But how easy is it for you to lift that foot off the floor, have your weight on the foot that is grounded? And do you hold your breath as you're lifting the foot away from the floor? Or can you keep breathing? And then do the same thing to the other side. So shift your weight onto the other foot, stay there and lift the first side foot. Now, is there a reason why you chose this one second and the other one first? Great. We'll come back to that at the end as well. So now, come and rest with both feet on the floor. Take a moment to rest. You'll be doing the following movements on both sides, but you can choose the leg you would like to stand on first. I'll give the instructions as if you're standing on your right leg, but if you've chosen to stand on your left leg first, then just simply reverse the right and left instructions during the whole lesson. So, shift your weight onto the right leg, or the leg that you've chosen, so that you can put your left leg out to the side, which means your big toe is lightly touching the floor. So the rest of the foot is off the floor, and it's just the big toe of the left foot that's lightly touching the floor. I will call this the starting position for the rest of the lesson. Let your right arm hang down by the side, and then with the weight of that right arm, let the whole torso of you incline a little bit more towards the right with the head up until the left foot starts to lift away from the floor. And then return the left leg to the starting position, which means the big toe is only touching the floor. So you don't come back to fully standing on both feet, only to that starting position, and then do the same thing again a few times. And really make sure that the right arm, or whichever arm is the opposite arm to the leg that lifts, is really loose and hanging, and that kind of that weight of that arm can help you incline yourself to that side, which then lifts the other leg off the floor a little bit. And can you keep your breath flowing even in that moment when your left leg leaves the floor? And then leave this side, or if you've had enough to explore this on this side, and try the same thing onto the other side. So shift your weight gently onto your left leg. Bring the right leg out to the side so that the big toe is lightly touching the floor. And then with the weight of that left arm hanging, tilt yourself more towards the left, the torso, the head. You're tilting yourself to the left. And then at some point, the right leg will start to lift away from the floor. Make sure that the leg that is lifting, that you're not actively lifting that leg away from the floor. It's really just a consequence of your shifting your upper your torso and your head to the opposite side. How far do you need to go with your torso and your head until your leg starts to lift away from the floor? And how does this side compare to the other side? Again, you made a choice earlier about which side you want to start with. So is this side a little bit harder to balance on? Or is maybe this side easier? And then make sure that you don't let any help come from the arms in the sense that you're starting to tense the arms to keep the balance. So really let them be loose and free and just tilt yourself to one side and then come back. Great. Leave that. Go for a little walk around your room. Or if you'd like to sit down, you can do that too. And just notice anything that comes up for you right now. Yes, of course, you can lie down as well if you'd like to. Um, it might not be a very long rest, so I might ask you to come back up quite soon, but of course, you always have the option to lie on your back if you prefer. then come back to standing if you're not already there, and come back to the first side. So move your weight more onto your right foot or whichever foot you chose first. Same thing with the other foot is lightly touching the floor just with the big toe. Um, and then tilt yourself again to the side like you did before, letting the arm hang, letting the weight of the arm pull the rest of you, and then the leg lifts away from the floor. And then stay there with the arm with the head and the torso, and just allow the leg to flop back towards the other leg. So you're just letting it fall back towards the other leg. But you're staying with the weight on your standing leg. So you're not shifting the weight, it just flops towards the standing leg. You might have to bend the leg a little bit so that the toes don't brush the floor. And then bring it out again to the side and do that a few times. So the starting position is with the leg out to the side, lifted a little bit, and then you let it flop into your other standing leg and then bring it back out again. But your torso is still tilted as you're doing this. And maybe you want to take a short rest and then come back to it. That's always an option. And just notice what's going on with your breath as you're doing this. This might be a little bit more challenging than what you did earlier because we're now suddenly dropping that leg that is out to the side. So are you holding your breath at the point that you're letting that leg fall? Or can you breathe continuously and fluidly through it? Great. Leave that. Rest for a moment in standing. Very short rest. And then change over to the other side. So you're standing on the left leg, the right leg is out to the side, the right big toe is lightly touching the floor. You're letting yourself incline towards the left through the weight of the left arm, and then you stay there with the torso and the head, and you're just letting the right leg flop, drop, fall, however you want to call it, towards your standing leg. And then you bring it back out again and do the same thing a few more times. And as I said, you probably do need to have the right leg a little bit more bent so that you're not tempted to put any weight onto it as it falls and then touches the floor. You don't want it to touch the floor. How is that different from the other side? Again, is your balance easier on this foot or a little bit more challenging? And then leave it. Yes, take a rest. Maybe take a rest on your back on the floor if you'd like to. Maybe a bit unusual for a Feldenkrais lesson that this is the first time that you're lying on the floor and we didn't do a scan on the floor at the beginning or we just started straight away in standing. So, how does that feel to now go and lie down? Does it feel like a relief to give your weight into the floor? And where can you feel the movement of the breath now? Just take a few more breaths, lying on your back, either with your legs bent or your legs long. That's completely up to you. In this different configuration, in this different relationship with gravity as opposed to when you were standing and letting the leg fall. How does that feel? And then roll onto one side and come back up to standing. Or however you'd like to come up. You don't have to roll to one side and come up to standing. You can obviously choose your own path. And now bring your right arm over the top of your head so that your right hand is touching the left ear. So you're like making a package between that right arm and the head. So your the upper arm, your right upper arm is nicely against your right ear or close to your right ear, and your right hand is on or your left ear. And now put your left leg out to the side again, as you did earlier, with the big toe touching, your weight shifting onto the right leg. Same thing as you did before, but this time with this package of your head and your arm. Tilt yourself towards I need to think now, right, so that the left leg at some point starts to lift away from the floor and then come back to center with everything. And just notice, do you have to go further or less far than when the arm was hanging? So make sure you come back to center to give yourself a little rest and then try that again. That you're tilting towards the right and noticing at what point the left leg starts to lift away from the floor. And how much can that left leg um or kind of trying to take part, an active part? Great. And then leave that rest for a moment. You can go for a little walk around the room if you'd like to, or you can just stay standing where you are. And if it's tricky to get the arm over the head like that, then you can always just not go all the way. You can put the hand on top of your head, for example, or you can carry on with the arm hanging. And then come back to where you were and put your left arm over the top of your head so your left hand touches the right ear, and shift your weight onto your left foot. Bring the right foot out to the side and gently start to incline yourself towards the left with the head and the torso, and let the right leg lift away from the floor whenever that is. Are you still breathing as you're exploring this? Is it more challenging for the balance with the arm around the head than it is with the arm long? Great. And leave that or carry on, up to you. But probably good to take a short rest before we then go on to the next step, which if you're a regular Feldenkrais student, then you can probably guess where we're going next. So come back to standing. Bring your right arm over the top of your head again so that it touches the hand touches the left ear. Move your weight, shift your weight towards the right foot. Bring your left leg out to the side. And then tilt yourself again towards towards the right. And then stay there with the head tilted and the torso tilted, the leg lifted a little bit away from the floor, and then let the leg drop. Let that left leg drop, fall again towards your standing leg, but your The upper part of yourself is staying tilted, staying slightly off center. And make sure that you take care of yourself, that you don't fall, then maybe do less or tilt yourself a little bit less. And when you decide to let the leg fall, does it fall easily and immediately, or is there a little delay? What's the connection between the thought of, I let the leg fall now, and it actually doing it? Great. Leave it. Rest for a moment in whatever way you'd like, whether that's walking a little bit, shaking your hands out, your legs out, and then come back to it once more, but on the other side. So left arm goes over the top of your head, your left hand touches your right ear. You shift your weight to your left leg, your right leg is out to the side, big toe touching the floor lightly, and you start to incline yourself, tilt yourself towards the left. See how far you need to go until the right leg lifts off the floor, and then stay there and let that right leg, again slightly bent, full flop, drop towards the standing leg. Could this even be fun, you think? Or is it a very serious matter? And if you lose your balance, just be patient, come back to it. Great. Then leave that, have a rest on your back. What did it feel like now to come down to the floor and lie on your back? Was it as much of a relief as before, or maybe even more so? I know for myself, whenever I do a standing lesson, I can't wait until I get permission to then lie on the back and rest. What's your contact with the floor like now? And if you bring your attention to your breathing again, has it changed in any way compared to when you were lying on the back just a few minutes earlier? And then gently make your way to standing again. And when you've arrived in standing, let's come back to that first movement of shifting your weight onto your right foot and having the left foot out to the side. So the left big toe is lightly touching the floor. And then let the weight of the right arm tilt you towards the right until the left leg at some point leaves the floor. And then you come back to center again. Bring everything back. Does that feel different now? Is that easier than it was before? And then do the same thing to the other side. So you're shifting your weight onto your left foot. Your right foot is out to the side. You're letting the left arm hang. Remember to let it lie loose, not trying to help with it to keep the balance. And tilt yourself to the left and then come back. Has it gotten any easier to let the leg just be a passenger and not be involved so much in as an active participant? Great. And then come back to the center, have a little walk around the room. And then finally come back to standing somewhere, wherever that is, once more. And notice, what's your balance like now on your 2 feet? Has this changed compared to what it was like at the beginning? Where is your weight? Do you still favor one foot over the other? Or have you found some more symmetrical distribution of the weight, some more grounding? And then take that impression, that grounding, that balance into one final walk around the room. And this time, really noticing if the walking feels different, if the coordination of walking feels different in any way. And then you can come back to wherever you are. And this is where I will say thank you very much for joining us today. Please check our website if you'd like to know more about us and future events, and we hope to see you again tomorrow. Perfect timing, 1 minute to go. So if anyone would like to say anything, please feel free to unmute yourselves and say whatever you'd like to. I think Zoom will probably close in about 5 minutes, so we do have some time.